What? Okay. So we started now. Let's. All right. So new updates. I did a little more research yesterday, trying to figure out why the white one was smoother than the other two. Like, which step was it that got the white blade smoother and sharper than the other two? And it might be that the sharpening stones create the chips, and that I have to use coarser films or coarser lapping compounds in order to smooth out that edge. There is some indication that something about the way that these stones, the way that even 1,000 grit or more stones work, might create this chipping. So that's the theory that I want to test. For that, I need to switch some stuff out. So lesson learned from yesterday, don't really need to go up to 4,500. Factory knife, which is sharper than what I had, not by a lot, by a little bit, doesn't have a polished edge appearance, which means even 1,800 is higher than what we had, than what we need. So I'm going to get rid of the 4,500 grit, right, the 5 micron, and replace it with 15 micron. Ooh, 2 mics. I do have 2 mics going. Oh well. Let's try to drop that second mic. I guess the question... All right. Yes. I have 2 mics going, because one of them for voice has the NVIDIA RTX, which is noise canceling. But I know when I look at to-do videos of people doing sharpening and other stuff, the sound of the tool really helps me in understanding when I'm duplicating the result, whether or not I'm doing it like the viewer did. So I do have a second mic with the gain turned down for picking up the sound from the desk. Um, but whoops, what did I move here? Uh, but yeah, getting the mix right is a little tricky. Um, I'll do what I did yesterday. Uh, I'll adjust the gain when I'm sharpening. So let me get rid of this 4500 grit. Erase off the 4500. Get rid of the Sharpie. All right, that actually wasn't. I was wondering how hard that would be, but it turns out erasing Sharpie is not that hard. Interesting. Erasing the Sharpie also erases there are markings. So there are markings original, kind of useless, that are like fine coarse that I wrote over. And apparently erasing the Sharpie also erases can erase whatever is holding on the markings. You see this fine has gotten rubbed out, which is fine. Those markings were useless anyway. All right, where's the cap? Let's get rid of this. And then new film, 15 micron film. Oh, whoops. I need to figure out how to get 45 micron film off. It's not, that wasn't that hard. Let's get that out of my way. All right, cover that. Oh, what am I doing? I took out 2 Q-tips because I have to get rid of both of these. All right. And let's get rid of the film. Okay. So get rid of 4500. Put on the 15 micron, which I think is the equivalent of like 1200 grit. I'm gonna have to look that up if I put the right markings on. All right. There's one. This is 15 microns. It was 15 microns in grit. Fifteen microns is like 1250 grit. Ooh. Label this side while I'm at it. 15. Okay. 9, 15. This one needs. How about we close the alcohol? Trash pile. Dough. Oh, that's terrible. Crooked, but hey, once it goes down, it doesn't come back. All right, so you've got that, and then one more. All right, 1500 in diamond. So I found these I ordered when I first got it, and somehow they were still in the box. I was searching my email. I was like, oh, what sizes did I order in the past? And and I'm like, oh, I'm sure I have them. Where are they? And so these are the ones that have like a 1500 diamond stone on one end and then glass on the other end. And normally you would put the next higher up there, but instead I'm going to go down. The question is, if I go from 15, now I want, let's say 30 micron. That's 45. 30 micron, guys. 30 micron is equivalent to 600 grit, right? Which is back down in theory to this stone. But I want to see whether or not in PSA film mode, whether or not 600 will chip the same way that the stone apparently does. Um, so let me label this guy first, actually. 30 microns is 600. Oh. Dark clothes, yay. uh, and now, so I notice when people chat to me, I do have this text to speech thing. So people on the chat who chat out will have the chat read out.
Hi, Gracie. Dead breath.
Yes. Got the idea from Viva H. I was like, why does he do that?
Hi, Gracie. Dead. My name sounds so weird from TPS.
That's a little too loud. Second film. All right. Hands are shaky today. Shoulders are tired from spinning for 3 hours yesterday. Woke up this morning. I'm like, oh, all weird parts of my body are sore. And partly it's because normally I do this standing up, but the desk isn't laid out this way for me doing it standing up. And so I think my chair was just a little bit too low since my keyboard is like 6 inches lower than this desk here. And I was like, oh, bad ergonomics. All right, let me get rid of this stuff. And then we can take a look at what we're trying to do. All right. This is the not exactly unopened because I did open it yesterday, but this is the unused knife, never been used to cut anything. So let's switch over to the microscope view. That crop isn't pointed at the microscope anymore. Yay. All right, let me fix this. Whoops. move that back. Okay. So this will give you an idea of how what I'm positioning here. Okay. So this is the edge of one of my nice uh, uh, steel Japanese knives. This is classic Japanese blade layout as a single bevel edge. So you can see it's flat on this side, and then it has probably a 30-degree angle here. But rather than it being doubled up, right, normally it'd be like 30, 30, it's like 0 degrees here. So that net blade angle, rather than like if you were sharpening at like 20 degrees on both sides in a double bevel, then that net would be like a 40-degree angle edge. This guy here, if this guy sharpened to 30 degrees, then that's a 30-degree edge because this guy is flat. These guys are hard to sharpen using setups like the Wicked Edge. You really are supposed to use a hand on a whetstone for those. So I am not planning to sharpen this, but this blade is pretty much never been used, and this would be like the standard for sharpness. So this is what that steel edge looks like. And if I were to take a slice of some newspaper, not super easy still. Yeah, there's a could be better. You can see that you can't see anything. And the test here really is how easy is it to start, because supposedly the idea is that when you have these really flimsy newspaper things, it's hard the sharpness is not a matter of the cleanliness of the edge or whatever, because that has a lot to do with technique. But how easy is it to start a cut, right? And I'm not super great at this, so okay. And then compare that to, let's say, this guy. It's difficult for me to actually tell the difference here. Be marginally easier. That's a bit harder. This guy. Interesting. Fingernail test is a little bit easier to compare. I'm not sold on this newspaper thing, but we'll see. So this is anyway. This is the there we go. This is the edge of a nice knife. And then if we take a look at the ceramic knife, you can see here the edge here. Now this is a This is a double bevel knife. So if we take a look at this from the other side, there's a bevel on this side also, and that edge there is uh, is completely smooth. And then if we take a look at the guy yesterday that I got the sharpest, you can see that there's some chipping along that edge. All right, that edge is not nearly as smooth. It's also at a different angle. And then if we take it one that I did as I was getting tired, did a less good job. This guy, where's that piece of paper? This guy's a little more chipped. That guy's even more chipped. And then even more chipped than that is this little guy. And what I saw yesterday, what one knife sharpening guy found is that ceramic knives don't like stones. They like lapping compound. And so, question for today then is, can I get to this level of smoothness, right? This is the brand new knife. And I guess the first one is, since the white Nocuity is the closest. Can I get this edge up to that level, right? Which, I mean, this edge is not bad, but can we get this up to that level? So let's mount the knife and see what I'm going to do here. Let's actually see the knife. Okay, that's not bad. Zoom view. Even zoom this a little more. Anyway. Okay. Not tight enough. There we go. Okay. Let me reframe this zoom view. Okay. Need water. All right, let's get these guys out of a water tray. Let me go get my proof gloves. No, that's odd. All right. Anyway, cut-resistant gloves. Um, stabbed myself yesterday. Um, I stabbed myself in a relatively tough part of my skin, so I didn't break the skin. But today I will
Hi, Francie. Said,
wear the cut-resistant gloves. I think I bruised a finger. Um, all right. Anyway, and then whoa. All right. Um, okay, maybe I won't wear the cut-proof gloves. They're kind of slippery. Um, which experiment do I want to do first? There are two possibilities. What? Did I not label this guy? I only labeled one of the pair. All right. 30, 600. Way harder to write with the cut-proof glove guy. Um, So there's two experiments I could run. Since this guy is close, I could see I had a diamond up to 1,000 yesterday. I could see, will this increase or decrease the chipping using the testing the hypothesis that it is the type of polishing of grinding mechanism rather than the grit that leads to chipping. Right? That theory would mean that uh, these diamond impregnated surfaces um, even at 1500 will cause chipping, and then the 600, which even though it is coarser than what I used on this blade yesterday, will reduce chipping. Let's try the 1500 first. Let's see what the 1500 does. Where's the other one? Here we go. The 1500 does. Actually, there's a third thing I wanted to try. I'm not sure about the cut proof.
hi, Francie. Said, so that's how it works.
These cut proof gloves might not be safer. The cut proof gloves are slippery. I don't feel safer using them. Feel like I'm at risk of dropping the stones with these on. So let me get these. Okay, so that actually. Paper towels. Staying them up like tower. Tower. Um, that actually, relative to what I was doing yesterday, is actually not much. Um, because even though these are diamond stones, this zirconium ceramic is only slightly less hard than diamond. Um, and you got to grind a lot to make progress. All right, let's take a look at what does that edge look like. The edge has picked up a bunch of dirt. Is it more chipped than it was before? Less chipped than it was before?
Hi, Francie. Said, is it better for it to be slightly serrated?
Is it better for it to? So that's an interesting question. Um, I have read claims that ceramic knives are supposed to be slightly serrated in order to cut better. But that doesn't seem to be the case because the brand new knife is not slightly serrated and it's definitely sharper than um, than this than the slightly chipped knife. Um, so I believe that no. And actually, I think that, or rather, that I actually think the chipping doesn't matter. Um, uh, so in a metal knife, the way that you sharpen, because the metal is malleable, is the when you rub the stone on one side, it'll raise a burr on the other side of a height that's kind of proportional to the grit that you're using. So if you're using like a 400 grit um, stone and you are sharpening one side of the blade, you'll know that it's ready to switch sides because you'll raise a burr on the other side. And then you take down the other side until you feel the burr back over, and then you know you're done with that grit and you move on. And as you move higher and higher, the burr you raise will be smaller and smaller. But the fact that you raise a burr is the sign that you have taken off enough material and that you've gotten sharp enough. In With the ceramic knife, you don't raise a burr. So my belief is that this ragged edge is might be the sign that you have taken off enough material that you have reached the maximum sharpness possible for a given grit. Because the knife gets chipped just from using it. So before I sharpened, it wasn't like it was all smooth when I first started. It was much more chipped than this when I started.
Hi, Francie. Said, can your microscope focus on the edge straight on?
Yes. Let's take a look at that. But not much depth of field. So maybe you are better at looking at this than me. Um, I have trouble interpreting this. So I got to find the edge. Where is it? I think it's here. Oh, there it is. I think that's it.
Hi, Francie. Said, Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, not bad, except since I'm holding it by hand, all the shakiness is yeah, so I think that this is yeah. So you get the idea of the knife here, but it's hard for me to tell from this image with no experience um whether or not this is good or not.
I guess there's no micrometer built in. Hey.
Oh no, not on this cheap. It seems impressive with all the dials and the gears and whatever, but this is not a high end microscope. Um, yeah, so this is the edge.
Hi, Francie. Said, do you have a micrometer slide? Hi, Francie. Said, could then compare with the camera images.
Um, no, not at the micrometer level. Uh, I'm trying to think if I have anything that has a micron scale, or even like at a 10 micron scale. Um, scale. But no, I have nothing at the 10 micron scale. Like my calipers have a graduation on them. I could probably get down to 100 microns, right? A tenth of a millimeter. Um, okay. Anyway,
Hi, Francie. Said, this view looks really clean.
let's see. Yeah, it does work. I just don't know how to interpret this. That is the. Well, let's see here. So let's say I use this and I hold this
Hi, Francie.
at
Said, can't see the chips that much.
straight up. Yeah, I don't know whether that's good or bad. Um, well, partly I think is also the level of zoom. So you can't see the chips that much at this level of zoom. And mainly it's that I don't know what good is. So I'm basically just doing this by comparison. Since I know that it is possible, right? Because one thing I wasn't quite sure of when I first started is maybe because ceramic is brittle, it's just naturally never going to have a smooth edge within the power visible on this microscope. But comparing to the brand new knife, that's clearly not the case. That within the capability of this microscope, the brand new knife looks completely chip free, whereas this knife. Let me take this back down. Let me back it off a little bit. Whereas this knife has visible chips, and I'm only hypothesizing that this is the reason why this knife seems less sharp than the brand new knife, and why the black knife, and you can't really look at them side by side because one knife is black and one knife is white, so it throws off the exposure. But the black knife definitely feels less sharp than the white knife, and it also happens to be more chipped. So that's the only indication I have to go on, is that so far the more chipped knives seem less sharp. But comparing, there's a lot more variables that are different about these hand sharpened knives than the brand new knife. One thing you can't see under the microscope is, and you probably can't see on the camera, is that all of my knives taken up to past 1800 grit, the cutting edge is mirror smooth, so it's shiny. And the brand new knife is not like that. The brand new knife looks like it was taken up to 1000 grit at most. It has a matte edge. And the second thing is, it looks like I made a mistake in measuring the angle. I have my wicked edge set to a 20-degree sharpening angle, but I think that is wrong because the amount of polished surface, right? Because in theory, the more polished surface, the steeper the angle, meaning the smaller the angle. And the less polished edge there is, then the shallower the angle, which means bigger. On the brand new knife, there's much less. And I think that probably rather than being 20 degrees, it might be more like 25 or 30 degrees. Whereas the amount of bevel I have here is just much bigger. So there are other things different between my knives and the brand new knife than just the amount of chipping on the edge. Now, in theory, having a steeper angle, or by the sharpening tools gauge, having a smaller angle would mean a sharper but less durable blade. So generally, the steeper the angle, the sharper the blade, but also the less durable it is. And the shallower the angle, generally the less sharp but the more durable edge blade. So they say like chef's knives are usually in the 15 to 20 range, whereas pocket knives, utility knives, Leatherman, they tend to be more in the 25 to 30 level because you are cutting sticks and rope and other tough stuff with those knives. Okay. So that was inconclusive. I think the net was, is it more chipped after taking 20 strokes with the 1500?
Hi, Trancy. Said, can check out the bot, I guess. Hey.
I actually think I didn't take off enough because this stuff is really tough, and just 20 strokes doesn't do that much. So let's going to do another 50 strokes on this.
Hi, Trancy. Said, flashbacks are PGS where you have to sharpen your weapons.
was a little bit more than 50. Okay, I would have to say not much difference. Neither more nor less chipped, I think, than it was before. So next, let's try coarser, but different material. So on the other side of this, rather than 1500 grit, diamond mounted on metal is 1500 grit, diamond on is 600 grit, diamond on film. There are some people who are really good at this, and they just do alternating strokes, and they can go like crazy. For me, I can only go that fast if I use only like the center inch of this. If I'm also thinking about using more the surface, then I slow down. All right. Let's see what this looks like.
Hi, Francie. Said, you might cut yourself with vertical motion law.
So I'm seeing more cut marks on the bevel. But even though this is 600 grit, right? More than twice as coarse. It's not a lot more. It's not a lot more jagged. Okay. Let me try increasing the bevel angle here. 20, 21, 22, 23. Let's take this to
Hi, Francie. Said,
23.
probably better to take a pic of a part of the blade and then mark it and then go back to it later to see if the tip got smaller.
Can I mark it that precisely? 20, 21, 2, 20, 21, 2, 3, 23 degrees. Okay, we can try that. Well, actually, let's try this. The classic test of like there's a process by which you determine the bevel of the blade incrementally, is to mark the edge of the blade, and then you can see as you take off material where you've taken off. So let's see. So that's a little hard to see. So that's marked. To bleed through the other side. Yeah, so I've equivalently marked both sides of the blade. And then we can see this, if the change in angle, what parts of the blade get taken off. Let's keep going with the 600. This chair. Okay, so the changing the angle is changing the bevel. You can see that we took off about half. All right, what is with the focus?
Hi, Tracy. Said, right these trends.
Yeah, so I changed the angle to make the angle shallower, which means it should miss some of the blue, which seems like it did. It seems like the it's now taking off
Hi,
half
Tracy.
as much.
Have strands hanging off of it.
Strands. Are those fibers? Oh, those are probably fibers from the paper towel. I mean, I don't think that these are ceramic strands.
Hi, Tracy. Said, oh,
This part here does seem smoother. So it's not totally smooth. But given that I took it up yesterday to past 1500, it's not, it didn't become more jagged just from going from 1500 down to 600. Let's see what this effect this has on a more jagged knife. Let me put this white guy aside for a moment. And let's take a look at this guy.
hi, Tracy. Said, what a super tip.
Yeah. So this might be a better test. It'll be easier to tell if there was some difference. Now this knife has had stuff done to it. Because this paring knife, unlike the other ceramic, the bigger ceramic knives, was originally a single bevel knife, like the steel Japanese ones. Not sure why there's they were different. But this was originally single bevel edge, which in through prior work has become a a double bevel knife. Okay. I think this is less chipped.
Hi, Francie. That feels like it's less chipped.
Yes, it feels like this is, with just like less than 50 strokes, is now pretty close to the white knife, except in a couple of sections. Like there's this wide, hard to hold this blade flat. Like there's this wider chip here towards the front. Well, that chip has a unique shape. It's hard to sharpen at the tip of the blade.
Hi, Francie. That's a huge chip lol.
Yeah. I'm always afraid to get too close to the tip because the blade flexes.
Hi, you can't sharpen that. Hi, Francie. Said, without taking off most of the blade.
Oh, yeah, and I've got a weird chip at the top also. Almost certainly this thing at the top, and probably this thing at the bottom comes from dropping the knife. Okay, so I think this one here is the one to watch because it has it has an interesting shape. What do I have that can point at it? All right. this guy here, I think, is the one to watch. Now, how do I mark that?
Hi, Francie. Said, can you mark it vertically with the marker? Hi, Francie. So that we can find it afterwards.
Yeah. Let me get fine tip Sharpie. Okay, so there it is. Whoops. Okay. All right, we can kind of see that. Most of it should not get ground away. Okay. Whoops. And now can I find the marked spot? Or did it get wiped away? Oh wait, that's the mark. That's the mark approximately, right?
Hydrancy. Dead. There it is. Hydrancy. Dead. Hermit. Still there.
It seems less. Actually, if I remember,
Hydrancy. Dead. Maybe less prominent.
if I remember correctly, the bigger blob that's further into the knife where this marking is was actually to the right of the actual marking. That what I had drawn was a little like an L. Uh, yeah, I think it's move the light. It does seem less prominent. I actually think it may be completely gone. What we're seeing is a different pattern.
It used to be a major one dominating all the other chips, but now it's hard to tell which one it is.
Yeah. Okay. But we can see like where the mark is now. The most prominent chip is directly underneath it, right? It's like there's like two little bumps there. One towards the right of the mark, on the right edge of the marking, and one towards the left edge of the marking. So then we see if we can take some more, if it gets better if I do more at this level of sharpness. At this grit. Because 600 is pretty coarse, relatively speaking, compared to what I was using yesterday. So this would make pretty quick work. Can't find the marking. Paper towel may have wiped it off.
Hydrancy said, "Oh no."
Oh yeah, it's not that far. It's not this far down the blade. Yeah, okay, the marking's gone. But it got a lot less chipped in not that much time. So that's actually pretty good. And a lot less effort than. Let's see if I take this up.
Hydrancy said, "Is it sharper?"
Um, let's see. The only reference I have is yes. Well, not as sharp as the white blade. Definitely not as sharp as the brand new blade. Actually, can't be certain that it was sharper than it was before. Actually, um, it's less chipped, but it may not yet be any sharper. But we're only at 600. I added in. So I think.
Hydrancy said, "So that means chips don't matter then?"
Well, that's an interesting question. Chips. I don't think chips matter. I think they're an indicator. They're an indicator of whether or not you have reached the point in which you should go up to the next level of fineness. That's my current hypothesis, meaning that um, rather than reading the burr like you would for a regular knife, I mean, of course, you need a microscope. So I mean, it's not necessarily the most practical. Um,
Hydrancy said, "Man, sharpening that sounds just as labor intensive as doing haircut fades."
it's not nearly this hard with a metal knife, supposedly. That's why I think with the right technique and the right materials, um, this wouldn't be that tough. I think the problem I was having yesterday, why it was taking so long, is that um, that these stones don't seem that great at getting chips out. In that, I mean, I gave this 800 and 1,000 um, quite a good try on these knives, and they didn't get as smooth as the 600 of the film with maybe 80 or so strokes. And I was counting to 100 with these. Um, so let's go from 30 micron to the other new film that I loaded, the 15 micron. Where's the other 15 micron? Here it is. me take the lock out. Is that about 80? Well, actually, even out to the tip. So that big chip way up front is still there. But it's a lot smoother now, all the way, even all the way out to the tip. Let's compare this to these knives. I can compare side by side. How do I do this? Need this and this. Yeah, so when we started, the paring knife, which is the one at the top, was the most jagged of all of them. And now It's now, so another reason why this is not that comparable is because they also changed the edge from 20 to 23 degrees. Um, but that is more comparable to the original knife, I think. Because doing it with this thumb test, one problem is that it's not exactly the same. Because this paring knife is much lighter than the other knives. All right. Uh, what to try next? Well, not this dead skin at the end of this blade. The main question is it time to move up a grit or not? Is it time to move up? Can't focus. Is it time to move up? Um, I think this would be this would be easy, or it wouldn't be very time consuming if I knew the formula, right? Because there's not that many grids. 600 was very effective, right? So then you say if you have big chips, then find 200, and then 600, 1200, 1800, and then you might be done. And then like 100 or so strokes each, that'd be less than 10 minutes. If you knew how to read the chips to determine how much you needed to work the blade at each level of fineness. Because if I go up prematurely, that's a lot of extra work. But if I'm already at the max sharpness that I can get at the current level of grit, or if I'm already at that max level, then continuing at the current level is useless. Let's go up. I guess the real right test is to get a bunch of different knives and then do like an absurd number of strokes, like 500 strokes each, at each level, and then take a look and maybe make photographic references at each level, so that I can use them to compare and you get an idea of how much you need. But I don't have that many knives. All right, so now 9 microns. So we're going up to 1800 now. The sound of this is significantly different. Six, 7, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 1, 2, 3, Made a mistake. No wonder they sound different. Oh, been doing 15 on one side and 9 on the other.
Transies. Said. Oops.
Oh yeah, it's sharper. Okay, so the rule still applies. Maybe just at higher levels, because you normally wouldn't need to take a metal blade up to 1800 to get absurd sharpness. It's just everything seems to be ramped up a notch with the ceramic blades.
Hi, Trancy. Said, I guess you have to physically get the blade to that sharpness with ceramic, whereas for metal, you kind of squeeze the blade out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely sharper. Because normally speaking, with metal, like you start getting diminishing returns past 1,000, you don't really notice much of the difference. But still, this doesn't make any sense. Um, Still one oddity. The one oddity is the level of polish of this edge here now is still higher than that of the stock blade. Yet the stock blade is sharper. But as I've been going up in grit, this blade is getting sharper. So whatever was used to sharpen this, it's not the same process. Which actually, I know that it's not the same process because they don't use these lapping films.
Hi, Trancy. Said, the stock blade, they only have to sharpen the blade itself.
Yeah. See, the stock blade they use a wheel, and the wheel, because the wheel spins, you can use finer abrasive and less time because the wheel has is moving fast. Um, and they also use a different wheels. Don't use these PSA films. Um, uh,
Hi, Trancy. Said, time to get a wheel.
no. um, what you do with wheels is you you've got a wheel that's like um made of some soft material, right? And I have some of those. I have just the wheels, just the discs. I don't actually have one of those machines. When Tech Shop was still open, I would use theirs. And you load that soft material with lapping compound. Um, and I got this a long, long time ago. And this is like a suspension basically of diamond grit. Um, and you load that. The wheel is pretty different than than a lot of these because these are all hard surfaces. Like this, of course, is real hard. And the films are supposed to be need to be put on top of something that's completely smooth. So these platens is basically there's a sheet of glass here, and then you stick the film onto the glass, and the glass is mounted um, in the handle. Um, and for stromping, they make these. This is a piece of leather that is mounted onto this, and leather, of course, is just way softer. Um, and so these buffing wheels that are loaded with compound, um, they they're soft um, and abrasive. So maybe, what grit should I go at? So I'm at 15 microns now. What I could do is I could. So the only downside is that I only have one of these leather things. So I can only try two different kinds of compound, because once you load the leather with compound, you can't really unload it. So I have two different grits that I can try. For science's sake, since I was at 9 microns here, I should load with 9 microns here to see whether or not just the type of abrasive makes makes a difference. But then I can't. I only have one more shot after that. Do I have 9 micron? 7, 14, 20, 1.5, 5, 4, 40, 10, 3.5, 20, 20. Okay, so I have to pick between 7 micron and 9 micron. How big are those chips? Now I really want to know how big those chips are. Do I have anything that's a micron reference that I could stick under this microscope? Anything that would give me 37 microns. 37 microns. What do I have? Uh, Let me look. Maybe I can use calipers.
Hi, Francie. Said, all right, I think I need to go take a nap. Good luck with the sharpening.
Okay, I didn't catch that. What did you say? You said. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm gonna want to put gloves back on. In other words, not laughing. Oh, that one's okay. So that is supposed to be 100 microns. Right, 100 microns is zero point 0.1 millimeters. So this is supposed to be 60 microns. Let's get rid of this junk. Can't focus. Can't get any more focused than this. So that gap is 60 microns.
Harold Symmetry said, my general understanding of sharpening ceramic knives is so hard you have to use diamond abrasives. But most diamond abrasive stones have large variation in their surface. Harold Symmetry said, the mic sharpening since ceramic is brittle. Successful attempts use diamond polishing film sandpaper with plastic backing rather than paper. Harold Symmetry said, and a trailing edge stroke for the final polish.
Yes, that's true. So today I've been using PSA backed film. What I'm trying to select now is switching to lapping compound on leather. And I'm trying to figure out, given my limited number of leather stropping inserts, which compound I should select. Because I went up to 9 micron. I went up to 9 micron film. I'm reasonably comfortable that the edge I got is 9 micron film. And so, yes, what you say is true. When I compare, when we were comparing, say, like to like, or even unlike to like 1000 grit stone compared to 600 grit film, 600 grit film produced less chipping, or rather reduced the chipping more, even though it was in theory coarser. And so the next step up, which I believe is the process used in the manufacturing of these knives, is because you can't mount film on wheels. They use buffing wheels loaded with lapping compound in order to produce these, in order to sharpen these at the factory. And that's what I am trying now. And going by what? Sixth. I guess I'll go for the 10 micron.
Good. I see. Thanks for explanation.
So, and the challenge, of course, is that I was using 9 micron film. So if I want to compare in general the behavior of film versus lapping compound on leather, I would want to go with 9 micron lapping compound. But I don't have 9 micron lapping compound. I have 9 and I have 10 and 7. And I only have 2 leather surfaces. So I can only load 2 kinds of compound. So
Symmetry. Good. The theory is, I think, that the film is more uniform, but more importantly, has a small amount of gift to compensate for unevenness.
Yes, compared to the stone, that's true. But I think the question is, compared to the lapping compound on leather, that would be even softer. And then what the uniformity of lapping compound is. Since I'm pretty certain that they don't use the film in the manufacturing of the knives. Meaning when I send these knives back to service, they because it's much cheaper, they use buffing wheels loaded with compound to sharpen them. Supposedly they use
Symmetry. That lapping on leather would have even more give.
So the question is the comparison. I want to know what the difference is, like to like. So I guess 10 microns is the closest I got. So let's go with that. And I don't think that I have any chips that are bigger than 10 microns. So let's see. Of course, this may be the end of today because this lapping compound is pretty old. So,
By the way, I was unsuccessful myself in sharpening my ceramic knife.
oh, so actually using this setup, and even without using too many films, using just these diamond things with dealing with the chipping, I was able to sharpen them. Not back to factory grade, but better than the state that they were. What I'm trying now is just first, what's the fastest way to do it so you don't spend hours doing it? Because I don't think you need to spend hours doing it because they make films all the way up to what do I have loaded here as my coarsest, right? I have a 30 micron film. They make 40, even 60 micron film.
The challenge I saw on YouTube was to make a saving sharp knife and shave a beard or head.
Oh yeah, but like a brand new knife, I think is sharp enough to do that. I think this knife is sharp enough to do that. I'm not sure that you would need to get it a lot sharper than the stock knife. But in any case, my goal here is after the knife is used, it will be chipped. So there's first the fastest way to get the chips out. And then the second thing is also how to read the knife. I think I mentioned this earlier before you got on.
Optical wavelength of light is 0.38 to 0.74 microns. And a sharpened razor blade is around 0.3 to 0.1 microns for the edge itself. Symmetry. Good. And confirmed by electron microscopy.
So In any case, the what I'm looking for is just how to get there the fastest way. Okay, let's grab the 10 micron and then load it. Am I loading both course? Course, yes.
Symmetry.
There we go.
My general understanding of its factory sharpening is they use a diamond lap horizontal spinning disc with fine abrasives.
Oh, yes, but I mean, in order to reach 1 micron or 0.1 microns, you'd have to use lap and compound also.
The glass or gem setting industries, possibly for the metallography lab.
Yeah, but I mean, it's relatively easy to buy compound down to 0.1 microns. Actually, Wicked Edge sells a spray with 0.1 micron compound. I have some, but I'm not even there yet. Um, the
Symmetry. Said, the good thing about ceramic is that it doesn't care about heat. Unlike steel, if you use motorized sharpening,
I think this is actually too much.
Said, yeah, I have some, but not much micron compound.
Okay, this is way too much. I messed this up. I messed this up.
Symmetry. Said, oh, you use a Wicked Edge setup. Cool. A few years back, I used to chat with Clay Allison in web forums and stuff.
I should label that.
Neural symmetry said, just to be silly, the sharpest edges I've heard about that are obsidian fracturing are for diamond-plated microtoms. They're tiny and cost $4,000, but are sharp to 50 carbon atoms at the tip.
Let's see. So this is trickier than using PSA film. You can't go in both directions, otherwise they'll cut the leather.
Neural symmetry said, my guess is that at the factory they use a high-speed spinning lap with fine diamond abrasive. High speed to compensate for the fine compound is my guess.
Oh, that's correct. There's videos of the factory. It's essentially like it's just a buffing wheel. All right.
Neural symmetry said, not a buffing wheel, I think, since the buff is a soft surface, but more like a lapping surface, as hard as soft metal or more.
I think. So qualitatively, is this an improvement over the 9 micron?
Carol Symmetry said, my guess is based on videos of Kyocera sharpening on YouTube, probably the same ones you saw.
Let's see. Okay, so let's compare that to this is the guy I took to, well, okay. Can't see crap.
Carol Symmetry said, by the way, the material technology of ceramic knives is insanely cool. Active crystallization transformation to suppress microfractures, tough and zirconia.
Okay, so this definitely got better than what I was able to achieve yesterday. Actually getting pretty close to that factory edge now. But Hmm. Sharper. Not as sharp as the factory edge, but now it's about as sharp as the white Nakiri.
Harold Symmetry said, curious to try sharpening my ceramic knife again. Maybe you can catch up later on what you've learned.
It feels like the 10 micron lapping compound took the knife up another kind of qualitative level of sharpness. Sharper than the 9 micron film. Although using the lapping compound is way slower. All right.
Harold Symmetry said, have to run. Thanks for sharing.
All right. All right, let's see what this looks like now. All right. Okay, so that's 10 micron. Now, last step. If I'm going to go down, should I go down to 5 micron or 3.5 micron? Should I skip 5 micron? What is 5 micron in grit? That's 4,000. Hmm. And 3.5. 5,800. Since I have 4,800, I guess I'll go down to 3.5. All right, and let me, before I do that, let's label this. Let me get the other marker. All right. So that 10 micron before, right? So that's 1,900 grit. 10, 1,900. And this I'm going to take to 3.5, which is 5,800. Okay. Let's load this. All right. Where's the knife? Here we go. Okay, let's see here. So let's see. Probably moved on to 3 prematurely. Though it's easily possible that it's not necessary. That's sharper than the white knife now. Yeah. Not as sharp. Not as sharp as the stock knife. Okay. Let's do a couple more. The last couple blind. And let's work our way up without checking at each step. So let's grab this guy. Finish this guy off. So you used the 600 on this guy previously. So just take a couple of strokes with this to make sure. Yeah. Whoops, what are you doing? Well, in an inattentive moment, you mounted the wrong knife. You didn't intend to do this experiment, but now You've done it. All right, let's see what this edge looks like. So this is what 600 level microchipping looks like. This is what the 600 edge looks like.
ITS that guy said magnifying glass X0 Y stare.
Yeah, and it's duller. Oh well. Goodbye. Unused knife reference. This is no longer a unused knife reference.
ITS that guy said OMG, you have half TTS here 2XD.
Yes. Otherwise, I don't know when anybody talks. I mean, in reality, it's just for me. It's just that I have it coming out the speaker, so it comes back in through the microphone. Okay, well, that was an accident. This will be a project for another time. The one that I actually wanted to work on is this one. Clearly, that's a sign that I've been for too long. Yes, because this stream reading program can connect to YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer all at once. So it gives me some place to look at and it shows me who's in the channels. Not that I'm looking.
ITS that guy said commoditizing not bad. ITS that guy said maybe I should use less emotes here lol.
I don't know, that doesn't seem to stump Viva H's chatters, who put all kinds of symbols and other weird, unpronounceable stuff into the chat constantly. 15 microns. The heck? Fifteen and 9. Last. Dropping compound. I really cut up this leather already. I'm just not good at using this stropping handle. All right, and then red. Hmm. Is this a test? Yeah, but I'm not sensitive enough. Can't tell how much pressure I'm putting down on this. All right, last bit, red. Whoops, that was a big gouge. All right. That was less than 100 at each level, right? This is like 50-ish at each level without looking in between. How does this look? Not bad. So maybe, other than maybe the initial taking out of big chips, you don't need to stare too intently. That's decently sharp. Okay, next. And last one. Big one. All right. Hmm. I'm not really sure what to conclude from that. All right. 15. No. Next. 9. So that was 70, right? And a 30, 20, 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Maybe I'll do the same thing. 20. 20. 10. 2, 1. Hmm. Maybe you can see something, a difference in the edge as you go sharper. Plus, get the distinct notion that definitely there was a big difference between 9 and 15. All right, next. The strops. The other one. Oh, here it is. The 10. Do that. Step this down. Whoops. 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 20. 1, 2, 4. Okay, and then last the red. I started about 3:44. It's 4:02 now. I'll be done before. Should be done before 4:05. Wow, took a big slice there. 20. Okay, done. Hard to compare edge quality. Um, I can say from start to finish, it's easier now. Um, but it's hard to tell exactly at what point. Well, okay, I think the 15 to 9 made a big difference. That was a big jump. Let's see what this edge looks like now. Yeah, that's pretty good. Smoothness wise. So this procedure works. Maybe about 20 minutes, probably less than 20 minutes per knife um, to go through this process. Because I'm betting some of these steps didn't need so many strokes. And with more film, less stropping, probably possible to get a better edge faster. Not switch to stropping until much closer to the end. Plus one accident. Well, that was unfortunate. Okay. I think that's it for today. This has gone on for long enough. But yeah, got all three knives at the same level at least. Now I gotta clean up.